is, right? Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay, perfect. So, Shaun, we did your healing yesterday at what time did we finally get around to? Around 2 o'clock, I think, is when we really started.
I think that's right.
Yeah, it was about 2 o'clock. We talked for a bit before that, and then we did the healing. So we talked about just kind of letting you sit with it and see how you felt and get your feedback afterwards. So that's what this call is about. So
okay.
So just tell me wherever you want to start, however you want to talk about it, we can just go with it.
Okay. Well, today, I'm in a much better mood than I've been in a while, and I did have the hernia surgery, and that's much better.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that you had said that the angel Raphael had gone in to do the healing and sent you an image of an Easter egg. And
yeah.
And my belly button is really much more oval shaped than it used to be, so I can see where it kind of looks like an Easter egg. Not a very pretty Easter egg, but
wow. So it even
interested in that.
So since then, it kind of resembles a little Easter egg in there. Is that what you're saying?
After the surgery, when they took the hernia out, they kind of concave, the belly button area now kind of resembles the shape of an egg.
Gotcha.
A small one, obviously.
Gotcha. Okay. How funny.
So I had found that pretty interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, because in the healing, he just he stepped in and he said, I'm just going to go in there, and what he showed me really, and I hope that I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on explaining what I'm visually seeing or what I'm exactly being told, because it would take so much longer and it would impede your own experience and what you're visualizing and what you're seeing. But I obviously have to talk about, could you imagine, if I didn't, talk to you about what was happening? That would be really weird, too. So it's, kind of a balance there. So how did that feel when he did that?
It felt very tight and numb down in that area. So, and you had mentioned that there might be some numbness, and it did feel numb and very tight in the area he was working.
I tell you, it just blows my mind every time when because when we're in it, because I'm being told what he's doing, and he just said, I'm going in and I'm just going to take my hands and just really, and it's just literally energy work and working, and he said what I'm going to do is just protect it and make a little cocoon like an egg, and he showed me it looked exactly like a little plastic Easter egg, like one of those kind of things, and he's like, we're going to cocoon it here, and then he's like, so it's not really uncomfortable, because up until then it had been really activated and tingly all through the chakra stuff, and I know at some point I even was it might be a little spicy. I knew it wasn't getting uncomfortably painful for you, but I knew you were aware of that area, because it's impossible not to when we're working with the chakras that are right. It would been a little different if, say, your injury was on your arm, but what just happened was right there, so it's it's hard not to do that. And then he's like, you know what, we're gonna go numb with this, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. As soon as he said that, I was like, holy moly, if that's what he feels, that's just incredible, because all of a sudden my whole area in there, because I feel what you feel, so I can really understand it, and my whole area, it just kind of shut down. The tinglies, the spinning, all of that activation just went really numb and quiet, and I was like, is that...
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
I didn't understand that you feel what I feel as well.
Yeah, a lot of the time I do, and it really helps me to understand what's going on in your body because I'm a physical empath, whether I'm physically in proximity to somebody or I'm I'm not, like, I'm working with you, my body will pick up on the sensations and the feelings, whether or not, you know, and in the healing process, it's definitely doing those things too, so I can really understand from all these perspectives. I'm being told what's happening, I feel it in my body, I can feel it, you know, hopefully what's going on in your body. That's the whole kind of purpose of me being a physical empath and being able to feel other people, is so I can understand it on such a level that makes it so much easier for me to work with you and your body and your energy, because I can feel it. And when he said that, and then immediately it was like, boom, it just shut down. I was like, okay, and so you might feel some numbness. I was like, holy moly. So it's so interesting that you felt that too. And how long did that last?
I think that element was there for probably the rest of the time. The numbness was there.
Until we were done with the healing?
Yeah, when we were done with the healing. And as far as the hernia itself, you know, the pain from the hernia has lessened considerably.
Good.
And I think that there must be, certainly the healing helps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it really, it takes away all that. If you can imagine all of your nerve endings and all that stuff that got disrupted being on literal fire, you know, and then we just go in and he goes in there and calms it down, starts the healing process. So you could stop the painful process, start the healing process, which in turn means you're rejuvenating cells, and you're not in pain really when you're doing that on a really high level. So I'm so glad. That's why I said, like, let's do this as close to your surgery as you feel comfortable, because it will help you with the pain, with the healing, all of it. So I'm so happy.
Right.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's really good. That's great.
And also the experience of you grounding the chakras to Gaia. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gaia.
Each one, when you said Gaia is sending back up energy, it just was an explosion of energy when it came back up, which, you know, was quite something.
Mm-hmm. But it felt good, right?
Yeah, an explosion of energy, I mean, in a good way.
Yeah,
it was,
right.
You know, I didn't expect anything, and it was quite startling, really, but in a good way.
I know, it's powerful, isn't it? It's like you start feeling your own energy, and you're like, oh, wow, that's cool, great, because as they activated and we talked about it, you're like feeling that tingling and the warmness happen. I checked in with you, and you were like, yep, I feel it, because I was feeling it. And but then you're like, oh wow, okay, and you don't expect it to basically jump 100% from where it was to what happens after she receives it and it infuses, and then she sends, you know, with it all back up to you in that grounding experience. Is like it's a boost. It's a major boost in that energy. And as it does that, it's like instantaneously also clearing. That's why I said, like, every single one of these steps, like when we first clear you, and then, you know, we get the space ready and we let go of some energies, and then we go through all the shot. Each one is its own clearing, healing, grounding experience. And then when we do your whole body, it's like, do you feel more in your body? Do you feel more, well, it's called grounded, but some people have a hard time understanding what that even means or conveys. But what does it feel in your body as far as that goes? And after you went through that process, because it is a long process, that is, to me, is like the longest part of it, is the grounding, because you have to go through this whole process with it, because if you really understand it, like, you are really grounded, you're really attaching your energy, and she's attaching her energy with you, and you can't just rush through that. You saw how powerful it was, so it does take, it does take a while.
I could feel in the process, it felt like, you know, my body was being pulled down into the bed.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of magnetized, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets heavy, but not in a bad way. It gets heavy.
No, it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Not bad.
Yeah, it gets, but it does, and the whole purpose of that is so your energy system is way more attached to your physical system. And that makes your physical system work so much better, because they're not, like, literally your energetic system isn't floating around your body. It's attached to your body and through your energy systems on the massive, beautiful energy system that we're on, you know? And especially when she's going through all these ascension changes and her own biorhythmic changes, and you are as well. When you hold hands, so to speak, in such an intimate way, it's like being on the ride, like strapped in together, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. So, okay. So that magnetized kind of heavy feeling into your bed, and then just like, let's just talk about that aspect physically after the healing, just moving around and being in your body and everything. How does it feel different?
It's hard for me to say because I got distorted from the surgery, but getting up and down became more normalized. And I did in the evening, right now I feel much better, but in the evening I went through a period of having a bit of a fever, which I thought was interesting. I don't know why that would be, but it was a low-grade fever, like 99.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's, to me, fever is healing.
It is. It is. And sometimes we need to kind of warm up our body to help detoxify. And what I'm hearing them say now, it was just part of your process. So it's another, I hadn't gotten that feedback before, but like I said, everybody's different. And like another person she's like, in 8 hours, she's like, I shit 5 times. And I said, well, that's detox. And so that's how her body reacted, you know? So that's interesting. How long did that last?
The fever, it lasted maybe a couple hours. It wasn't terrible, but I was surprised to have gotten a fever.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not totally surprised with the surgery and stuff that a fever would occur. So, but low-grade fever's healing. You know, if you get a high fever, then that implies an infection. But a low-grade fever, you know, is part of the healing process. So I think that's just a reaction.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily, that could very well have happened for you if you didn't have the surgery.
Yeah, the surgery might be a distraction that the fever may have come on anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't think that the fever was about your surgery. I think it was about the healing. And it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I passed the point of having a fever with the surgery.
Exactly.
So it was a little surprising.
Yeah.
So I would say it's with the healing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely part of the healing. But it's just being a low-grade fever, like you said, and only lasting a couple hours. Like, did it get in the way of you sleeping?
Excuse me? I didn't hear the last part.
Did it get in the way of you sleeping?
I had a very difficult time going to sleep.
Okay.
And when I did sleep, I had 2, they weren't pleasant dreams, they were more disturbing dreams.
When you did sleep, you're saying?
That seems meaningful, though. I mean, one dream is a recurring dream that I have. I was in marching band, and the dream isn't about marching band, obviously.
Right.
But that's how it's set.
Got it.
And the band director had a strange philosophy when we were in college that we would go on these trips to California, and he would treat us like adults. And so we were at Knott's Berry Farm, and they said the buses were going to pick you up in a couple hours. And then when we were in the park, people came up to us and said they changed where the buses are. They're on the opposite side of the park. And it was just a word-of-mouth thing. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, when we left the park, we ended up leaving somebody at Knott's Berry Farm, but they didn't figure that out until we got to, like, San Bernardino, which I think is fairly far away from Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, that's where I live, actually. Yeah, it is pretty far. That is a ways. It's a good couple hours. Yeah.
So, I mean, the story itself doesn't mean anything, but to me it's a way of saying, I'm worried that I'm not in control of the situation. That's what this dream indicates to me when I start dreaming about the marching band. And we talked about that a lot. When we got into the +1 part of the healing.
Yep, absolutely. That is a message, I guess you could say, a symbol for what it feels like to kind of, well, what I'm hearing is kind of accept things in a certain way, even though it may be a different way, and also letting that go, that you didn't. That you know what I mean? Does that make sense at all, what I just said?
No, it didn't make sense.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, wait a second, I don't think that made sense. So, part of that dream is, like you said, like word of mouth and not really knowing the whole story, or people not or assuming things, like everybody was on the bus when they weren't. So it's missing information, missing things, obviously. So it's being out of control and missing things, and then being upset that you are out of control and missing things, or missing clues, or not seeing things for what they are, or taking care of things sooner. All representative of that type of dream.
Right.
And all representative of the stuff that we did talk about. You're absolutely right. All of those things. Part of that.
Yeah, I thought it was a very related dream.
And it's interesting that you said that it's a recurring dream for you, right?
Yeah, I'll have dreams where I'm in marching band and we're in California, and it'll have different things happening, but it's always about this event where we were at Knott's Berry Farm, and they suddenly changed where the buses were, and it seemed like everything was out of control. We ended up leaving somebody at Knott's Berry Farm. So, luckily that wasn't me. But
right. But you're concerned about that person.
Right, and part of the deal is that I should have noticed that person was missing because he was part of my group. But they had scrambled the buses, it was out of my control. I assume he must have been on a different bus or something.
Right. But see, in the dream, the whole point is, it doesn't matter. You still feel responsible. Like you should have. Doesn't matter. Like on one hand, you're telling yourself, look, these are the circumstances. It's understandable that this would happen. And then at the same time, you're saying, but I should have seen that. And I think that when it comes to your life and the healing that we did for that, is it kind of carries that same theme where like I'm seeing and I'm doing but I'm not and I should have, and all of those mixed emotions that are part of what is been your, I guess, emotional disposition with the depression and stuff. I mean, that was part of the healing too. I mean, there was a few things that we worked on, but that was the other part, was the depression. And I think all of that is very much tied in. This loss of control, I should have known, but there were circumstances I couldn't foresee, but it was chaotic, and so you're just back and forth with it. And dreaming like that is a way for your guides to show you, like, this is a really this is a big thing. Like we need to take a closer look at this and really let it, work on it, peel back the layers and let these things go. So when you have recurring dreams, that's what that's all about. Is first off figuring out what the message is, kind of dissecting it, which you're really good at. Obviously, you have a really good insight into your own, messages and psyche and stuff and how that all works. So it's just kind of digging in deep. It's instead of just going, oh, okay, I think that's representative of that. It means, yeah, but this is why you're seeing this now. It's because you're ready to see it now, and let's take care of it, kind of thing. So in these next few days, however it may come up for you, if it does, just go with it, I guess, in your thought process. You might want to do some writing, or turn on your own audio recording on your phone, like I'm using right now. Your phone should have an app, or if not, then you can download an app for audio recording. And sometimes it's just good to talk and have it on something like that. You can go back and listen to it, or not, as well as writing, or even sketching, or doing your own video, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And it just can be for yourself, so it comes out. And like we talked about the cord cutting, that might be something to do as well. To get, because that's a different, it's a similar, but in the sense that of how things are done, I guess you could say, but how we go through that and what is all said and the visuals and all of these things are different than what we did. This was more of a overall with your emotional disposition over the course of your life and these things happening and what you're going through right now, kind of thing, instead of focusing in on a person. That's a bigger procedure. Then
there was the second dream.
Yeah.
This one I can't sort out, and I'll try to just say it quickly. The dream was, there was a kid that I had in a Sunday school class years ago. That's my son's age. Okay. And he's remarkable. He has a very quick mind, and I thought, everybody picks on him, but he's actually very obnoxious at the same time. It's not like he's, someone that's, he's a bully himself. I don't know if I'm giving you the right sense of this guy, but he's also very special in the way his mind works.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But I could never communicate that to him, that you're a special kid. And actually, this is another recurring dream. Now that I'm talking it out loud, I realize I've had this dream before, where I'm trying to tell this kid, hey, look, you're a really special kid, somehow I wish you knew that. And as we're walking, walking in a park, and as we come along, there's a foot sticking up, and it's a body of a kid that's buried there. And suddenly we're trying to call 911, and it turns into this kind of crazy, getting people out there to deal with the situation. And I think the meat of the dream is, not the 911 part, but the part leading up to it.
Right. And what does that mean to you? Have you figured it out, the symbolism of that whole thing?
Well, I think me trying to communicate with this kid that there's something special about him, but the kid won't hear it, there's part of me that, is more than I think it is, and I won't hear it. I tend to be negative.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's basically you talking to you. Your subconscious, your guides, however you want to put it, your soul talking to you, saying, hey, you're really special, but you can't communicate that. You're just not, you're right. That's exactly right. And
I get that part. I don't get why we suddenly find a body, and that could just be some kind of distraction. Dreams sometimes go in crazy directions because you're not wanting to deal with the real subject matter, so you throw in a distraction.
Well, it could also be symbolic of dead weight, to negative energy, the symbolism of, what's dead, unburying things, bringing things to light. There's a lot of different symbolism there.
I wonder if that has to do with, it was of a kid, if I'm, dredging up things from my childhood somehow.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Dredging up things that are from the past and should just be buried.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more symbolic of, I think it's also symbolic of fear and chaos and like dealing with crisis at a drop of a hat. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
interesting.
There's a lot there that I am getting kind of like, well, it could, it means a lot of different things. We can't just say, oh, that's just for shock value or to distract you. No, I don't think so. Nothing, especially in your dream state, is without some type of symbolism or something symbolic there. And I think that there's a lot of fear associated with that whole, like, okay, well, I want to get through to you how special you are, and then next thing you know, it's now this, not the same person, I understand, but there's somebody else that's dead, and you can't even talk to them if you wanted to. So that's kind of like interesting. It's like, what does this mean when we have all of a sudden this kind of not only tragedy but finality to something too? And
I wasn't equipped to handle the situation. I mean, I didn't even have a phone with me. I had to borrow the kid's phone.
There you go.
To dial 911, and then the 911 people were debating me, and then I couldn't find my way back to where they said they would meet me, and it was just a bunch of, I couldn't take care of the situation type stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like chaos and a lot of non-communication or miscommunication. I don't even know if miscommunication is like the right word, because it's more like just not being heard, I'm feeling. For this, I guess, also the seriousness of the situation too. So that's definitely something to, I think, also spend some time on thinking about, because like I said, dreams are really important and meaningful and symbolic. So, and part of the healing process too, talking it out, figuring out what these things mean, what they symbolize, and then working on that part. And you're right, it is about even your self-talk turning negative, even when you want it to be positive, or how things have been in the past, or even if you've decided this is okay, this is the way it's going to be, somehow it always ends up going to kind of affirm, no, it just makes sense to be more in this negative state, so we don't have to be spun around so many times. Yeah?
Yeah, I was just thinking of what you said.
No, I mean, it feels like that.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
So so that's something to think about, because that is a really negative, pessimistic point of view. I'm just going to stay negative and pessimistic because I'm tired of getting spun around when I try to get positive and optimistic. So I'm just going to stay here. It's a lot less jarring to my system. And it makes total sense given everything that's been going on. But at a certain point, that's not the reality anymore. But your station hasn't shifted. Your innards and your outards to the circumstances are still stuck in a way. And that's, I think, what this is all about, is getting you past that, us helping you, just pushing you over that hump and looking at everything that you've, been dealing with and holding on to as you've been going up and down the hump, just going up and then sliding back down. Going up, it's like, okay, this is one last look. Let's look at all of this stuff, and then we're going to push you and just go over this, and we'll be in a whole new place. A completely new place, Does it feel at all like that?
Yes.
Good. That's good. What are you thinking about? Thoughts?
Oh, I was thinking about, I'm stepping back into where you were focusing on the +1, where you use the symbolism of me being in a well.
Yeah, that's what I was shown.
I was real interested in that because I had read a book where the character was spending time in a well.
Really?
And that symbolism for me in the book had really stuck with me. I don't remember much about the book, but I do remember the guy being stuck in this well.
Oh, so when did you read the book?
I wrote this book about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's Murakami, which is a Japanese author. And the guy would go down into the well. He would do this, deliberately and just stay down there.
Oh, interesting.
I can't, it wasn't, the symbolism, the book is different than what we were talking about, but the symbol of being in a well stuck with me.
Right. And when you say it stuck with you, you could, I guess, relate to that.
I could really, there's seldom when you get a symbol in a book does it stick with me, but I could relate to being stuck at the bottom of a well,
right.
So he had a ladder to get out of the well, but that teenage girl, as a joke, stole a ladder, and he was really stuck in the bottom of the well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a really, there's a lot of feelings and emotions that come up from that, being in that space, physically, emotionally, and that's what I was, as soon as we got there, as soon as we stopped with your hernia and we went there, the energies totally shifted. I wanted to ask you about that. Did you feel that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they did totally shift. I got very emotional, and it was hard to shift the energy back to where I thought it needed to be for the final, for the infinite love part.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's not, I can understand how you might feel that way, but yeah, that's not a factor, let's just put it that way. But yeah, the energy is definitely, it's like, okay, now we're going into this, and everything just kind of just really did. It was very palpable and visceral. I felt it in my body. I felt it all over. The whole, like, everything just went okay. And it was like, it's like it was like, you know what? Putting a new slide in one of those slide projector things where you go from seeing one thing to everything's different. And you're just like, whoa. Is kind of what it felt like, just everywhere for me.
Yeah.
And then it was, and then that's when I started to get, and then I just ran off. I remember my mouth just went brrr, and I was said a whole bunch of stuff that came up that needed to be heard, I guess, and then I got that visual of you in a well, and it was you couldn't get out, basically. It was just, you were stuck down in this well. And I saw the perspective of almost like you could see through the ground at somebody in the well, you know, like, it was interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was very accurate image that really kind of, you know, the way my life feels with the depression. I thought it really captured it.
Yeah.
And it's a symbol that I've used before, so it was
really?
kind of very, you know, right on. It was very, very strong.
That's just, another just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Because we never talked about that. We talked about stuff, but we never talked about that. And that had never come into my visuals and talking to you or anything. It wasn't until that moment, and that's what I was shown.
Yeah.
Really similar to when I'm doing my psychic readings with people and I connect with them and I start feeling in my body things, I start seeing things, and that are symbols of importance for that person so they can understand that we are really connected, you know. It's not randomly whatever. And even at the time, it's when I'm shown things or I'm saying things or told things, I myself don't understand the importance of it, you know, because it's an exchange of information. So it's basically your spirit tribe saying, hey, this is how it feels and it looks for him in and outside of his body. And that's why you and I can feel all the energy shifting and everything being different. And that helps you. I think there's a purpose in that, you know. I think that helps you trust that it's not just some general thing. This is really about you. And when we're talking and we're working with you in this really intimate space, it's you and me and all these loving beings there to help you heal these wounds, these emotional wounds, so that energy can be released. And a lot of energy was released during that whole process. Like, way more than for your hernia. There was, I mean,
oh yeah,
minimal,
I would say so.
Minimal compared to when it was just kept going and going. And could you see the light? Like when I would talk about it, would you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? It's like, wow.
Yeah, it is cool.
It's so cool. You can feel it. You can see it when your eyes are closed, just light. And there was a point where it was, where was it? When things were moving more slowly with letting go of stuff. And that was really good, actually, because I felt like you were really in that and feeling it. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think this is when I said, you know what, I'm going to be quiet so you can spend time thinking about what's coming up for you, what you're being shown. And, you know, because you have to, as much as I can be in your head and get stuff, I'm not in your head, you know, you are. And that's really important for you to actively, intentionally feel it and see it and release it for yourself too. So I think that's the part that I was feeling.
Yeah, the emotion that I kept getting images of those very strange things that I've been through with my wife the last few years, and
right.
The emotion that I got was that there wasn't anything you could have done differently to help that. Mm-hmm. I felt, I'm not responsible for making that not happen or making it better. There was nothing you could have done. And
how did that feel? Were you did there was more acceptance there?
It's very emotional. Even just talking about it right now, I get emotional because I feel like I wish there was something I could have done differently to make this better, and there really isn't anything I could have done.
No.
Yeah, that's really hard to accept.
No, I understand. And to be honest with you, I deal with the same thing with pretty much every member of my, and I'll get emotional, with my own family. And you just can't, and I'm me, the healer, helping other people. My own family are so against kind of ripping through the layers and getting really real about stuff. And sometimes people just have to, you cannot help, you can only help people that want to help themselves. And we talked about this before. If you keep going halfway out of your boat and they keep pulling you in when you're trying to take them out, pretty soon you're going to get exhausted and just fall in with them, or you have to stop and save yourself. And at some point they're either going to say, okay, I'm ready, or they're not. But that's not our responsibility. That's an excuse to distract us from our own business that we need to take care of. You know what I mean? Like there comes a point where you're just like, you can't anymore. And as much as it sucks because you love that person and you want to help them, you want to save them, you know what can make it better, you can't force it. You can't force it on a person. You just can't. It's frustrating. Trust me. I get it. I get it. But at some point you have to...
I have a different thing to the dream, She's very remarkable, but I can't communicate,
Right.
Somehow I'm blocked from, connecting with her on that level.
Yeah.
And maybe this kid is actually her. I never thought of that.
Well, sure. That child can be symbolic of your child, of her child, of just the way that we kind of tend to be children with each other. Who knows? It could have a lot of that type of dynamic to it. Because in some ways, that's just exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Talking to a child who won't listen. Doesn't really matter. We just get older and get bigger, but a lot of times it's just we're still those children inside in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's a lot of those energies associated with that just kept going, and I kept feeling it and seeing it, and I know even when I stepped away and let you do your thing for a little bit, that there was more releasement going on there for you. And like I told you, it's not gonna be a one and done, like all this. I wish we could get over things so much quicker than, but it's a process. And this was a lot, I feel.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
That second dream was about my dealing with my wife, which I would have never guessed.
There you
so
go.
we talked.
Well, good.
Because, I'm trying to connect with her, but it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly everything just goes haywire, and it's totally out of control.
And that's really the way you've explained it to me.
Yeah.
So that might help you, seeing it from that perspective.
Yeah. I didn't, I was talking and I realized that dream wasn't at all about what I was, it's more about my relationship with her, even though it has this kind of odd kid in it that I dealt with briefly, years ago, but he conjures up those feelings that are very strong with her.
Mm-hmm. And maybe put his face on it so you can pay attention more to what it brought up for you than the distraction of it being her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aren't dreams amazing?
They're amazing. I think so.
And what our angels show us in our dreams to be able to, to work like this, and they're just like standing up and applauding. Like, yay! We can't be spoon-fed all of our everything, or else what's the point,
Yeah.
When we let's say aren't completely what's the word what's the word I'm looking for? Like, let's say we cheat on a test, let's say. It's like, oh, we got an A. It's like, okay, well, yeah. But if you really, work your ass off and get an A, it feels so much better. And it's kind of like that, with all of this healing business and spiritual awakening and getting in line with stuff and your spirit guides and learning their language. And, they can't just spoon feed us everything. We have to do the work ourselves and really want it, and the more we really want it, and we want to be better, we want to be healed, we want to be happy, we want to live our best lives, we want to let go of pain, we don't like feeling that way, we decide we're in control, the more they give us to understand, to figure out, to get us to pull ourselves up. And you know what I mean? It's this the pulley system. You pull, I pull, you pull, I pull, and together we lift you up. I don't do it for you, and you don't do it alone. We do it together, and that's what makes it so strong, and you don't fall back down. How many times do you hear of somebody who's really come through it and lifted themselves up, and then, they fall back down? That's very rare. It's only when it's false and it's not, and you can tell, oh gosh, that's it's not a strong foundation there. Hope they be okay for a while. But then when you see somebody really transform, and when they really transform, those people don't go back, because there's nothing to go back to. But they work their asses off to get there on themselves,
right.
And you can, and that's what you're doing, Shaun. That's what you're doing right now. Seriously, it's to be commended. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like I say in my website, you have to please understand. This is also hard. It's healing. This is the only way to heal, is when you really take a look at yourself. Otherwise, it's just it's waxing. It's not healing. It's cleaning. It's different. It's good. That's all great. But if you really want to heal, you got to get in deep. And deciphering these types of dreams and these recurring dreams that, you even forgot it was a recurring dream. You're like, oh, wait a second. This has been coming up. The same type of message being, sent to you that you just before couldn't decipher, but now you did.
I think it means something a little different than what I thought. That's how things are.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, okay, was there anything else with that whole process, with the whole thing with your wife and everything? Anything else? Because you...
No, I'm trying to think. There's some little things that I didn't mention I thought were interesting. At the beginning, I can't remember exactly what was going on in the beginning. You said there was something behind my left ear, and at that time my left eye started to itch, and I finally itched the eye, and you go, okay, that got it, which I thought was interesting why that came together like that.
Wait a second. I want to make sure I understood you correctly, because that's pretty funny. I'm sorry. So you said that at one point when I think that was towards the beginning, when we were kind of just going through your body and just doing general clearing?
Yeah, exactly. That's when this was. Okay.
And then, I felt, all of a sudden when we were in your head area, I was like, oh, I feel this tingling or itching was in your ear. It was an interesting, I totally forgot about that. It was this interesting sensation in that whole area. So you said that you felt it too?
I felt my left eye, you said it was my ear, but my left eye was itching.
Oh, your left eye. Okay.
And then I said, oh, I'll just scratch it. I scratched it, and it went away. And you go, oh, okay, that got it.
That's so
that was very strange.
And just so everybody knows that's listening to this, his camera, when we do video, it's I don't need to see the person. Sometimes people leave their video up so I can see their bed and them, but I have my eyes closed the entire time pretty much anyway. But his camera was turned, I think, like down, or it was like anytime I looked at it, it was completely black. I couldn't see you at all. I could hear you when you moved, but I didn't know what you were doing. That is really funny.
Yeah.
That is really funny.
No, I didn't have any way to have the camera in a way that you could see me well, so I just turned it down so it wouldn't be a distraction.
Yeah, no, and that's totally fine. But it was so as soon as you scratched your ear, your eye, I said, okay, that got it.
Yeah.
You see, I can really you see. Oh, it cracks me up, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's how it is. Just like the numb thing, like, oh, I think it's numb now, and you're like, your feedback is, yeah, it went numb. Like, it's just so interesting. It still trips me out, like how that works.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I don't know whether this matters, but at one point, when you're back in the same area, when you're doing the chakras, but you're back in the head area.
Yeah.
Suddenly this recurring thought came up that I needed to have a barbecue sandwich. And that's ridiculous. I kept trying to get rid of it, and it stuck with me off and on through the rest of the healing.
Oh, how interesting.
And I don't think that has any, I think it's just random thought that just, I don't think it has any great meaning. But it was interesting that it was in that same area where you, and the eye started to itch at the same spot, and I scratched it, and the whole barbecue sandwich thing started again. I mean, that's when it started,
So, did the barbecue sandwich thing ever go away? Are you still craving a barbecue sandwich? Is that like...
It never really left, and all the barbecue places were closed. So I'm not craving one now. I'm not typically craving a barbecue sandwich either.
That's funny.
That's just random.
How interesting. Well, if anything comes up for me that makes that make sense, I will let you know. Because I mean, the only thing that to me was kind of like, okay, does that have something to do with you eating or meat or something? That's interesting that would come up when we're working in your head and not in your gut. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
It sprung up again, and the eye itched again, and when I scratched it, then the barbecue sandwich thing started up. So I don't know if they're connected or it's just happenstance. It was getting towards 6 o'clock here.
Yeah, I don't know. So, that is interesting. And overall, what about, since we're talking about sandwiches, overall, about what is your, I guess, food intake or cravings or anything like that? Has it been pretty normal? Have you been feeling in that regard?
I don't know. That's improved. I'm not having the cravings like I was having them, so that's much better.
And
today so far, for a day, it's been much better.
Oh, what now? Which cravings specifically are you talking about?
Well, I've been having a jelly belly craving.
What's?
And so I have some around, so I'm not downing those all the time, so that's good. Oh, that is
good. Because those are like jelly beans, right? Like.
Yeah, they're jelly beans, but it's just a small jelly bean.
Right. But yeah, those have a lot of sugar in them, obviously.
No, there's nothing good about them.
No, there's really not. No, there's really not. And I do believe that jelly beans are made with gelatin, aren't they?
I don't know, but I've been having a jelly bean thing, but I don't know what that is.
That's interesting. Because, you know gelatin, do you know what gelatin is made out of?
I get the feeling I'm not going to want to know.
Well,
what?
I mean, they make gelatin they render it from basically like animal bones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, actually, I do know that. But I didn't think that was connected with jelly beans. Now I'm going to make them seem...
I mean, if they use the same sort of, they use gelatin in a lot of stuff. So that seems like a gelatin kind. I don't know for sure, though.
I bet you're right.
But like Jell-O, there's a lot of things that have gelatin in it. That's why vegans that's why a lot of, if you see bottles of vitamins and stuff, it'll say vegan on it, because the capsules that they put a lot of vitamins in are made of gelatin, and vegans won't eat that. Won't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just so you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, just so you know. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that until a few years ago. But I mean, it's not like they advertise it, so why would people know that? You know what I mean? It's like Jell-O, made of animal parts,
No, I didn't know that.
It's just wiggling there, all nice and cool looking, as the children are digging into it. They have no idea what they're eating. So okay, well that's cool. So less craving for the stuff we've established is not good in any way. What about?
And you said that when I was in the well, that I'm just with my jelly bellies or whatever. But you said things that feel good.
I said that?
Mm-hmm. You did.
Shut up. I did?
You said things that feel good. You're putting in, you got things that feel good that you're eating, You might have stated a little more.
Oh, yeah. No.
I'm thinking, my jelly bellies. I'm here in the well with jelly bellies.
Yeah, you're right.
But they're not very good for you.
Yes, you're absolutely right. No, I do remember saying something to that effect. I don't think I said jelly bellies, but I definitely...
No, you didn't say jelly bellies, but I knew what you meant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't know what I just meant kind of in general, because that's what they were showing me was like, okay, like in your mind where you associated being in that well, and what they kind of showed me was sometimes as you're in that mindless hand to mouth moments, you know what I'm talking about, that in those moments you would be like in the well and just kind of not seeing anything, and just in that space, really, in a really small space, just hand to mouthing it kind of business.
Yeah. You're going to have the Winnie the Pooh effect here, so you're just get stuck in the well. You eat yourself so big you can't get out of it.
Oh, yeah, maybe, right? I didn't see that, but definitely. So.
I just saw it now.
Yeah, no, that's true. His portly little bottom. But yeah, that's really interesting. So not the craving. So are you thinking about them, or you see them and they're just not like looking good anymore? You're like, whatever. They just don't have the magic.
I'm still having some, but it's not where I'm, eating them by constantly.
Got it. Well, there you go. Balance, and that's what it's all about, balance. It's not about deprivation like we talked about. We talked about you losing weight and this having probably a good side effect of that, and just wanting more healthy. Your body's just going to naturally want to regulate and be more in balance, especially after what we did with Gaia and just your overall clearing and healing. The things that fed into those negative energies are not going to be so in line with you anymore. And I know that makes sense. And I know that makes sense to you. Now more than it did when I talked to you about it before. Because I know when I talked to you about it before, you're like, conceptually that makes sense. And you're like, but I'm not sure how that would feel. But now you know what I'm talking about, right? Shaun?
You still there?
Oh, yep, I'm here.
Okay. I lost you there for a second.
Yeah. So what I said was, before, when I said that to you, about energies being in you, that are in line with you craving things that are not good for you, those energies are going to be gone. So there isn't that pull to want those things as much. There's going to be a pull to want things that are better for you. And naturally, this is going to make you lose weight. When you have this shift in energy within you, what you put in
absolutely.
What you put in, and I know when we talked about it and I said that to you, that conceptually you could understand it, but you were also like, I don't know how that would feel to me, or what that would feel like. But now you understand, right? You get what I meant?
Oh yeah. I do.
Yeah, it's a very obvious shift in where your body is and your energy is, and kind of what you feel about putting in it, or eating, or drinking, or any of those things. It's not about anything other than, it's just not, I want this instead of that now. Because this is vibing more with where I'm at. And that just tends to be better for you stuff. As you heal, you drop dense energy, you raise your vibration, your light body starts really activating more. You start craving higher vibrational foods to put in your body. You start wanting less lower vibrational things in your atmosphere, and that could be where you live, what you watch, who you talk to on a daily basis. It could be all sorts of things, just because stuff just isn't vibing with you anymore, and it can just start dropping away like real fast too. It happens. So it could be the little things like, all right, I'm not eating a pound of Jelly Bellies anymore. I'm eating 4 ounces. That's a big improvement. That's a shift.
Yeah.
That's a shift, whatever it is. So it's awesome. I'm glad.
Okay, so far I haven't been pounding the Jelly Bellies today, so that's good.
That is good. Okay, so was there anything?
I think I got everything that I could think of to convey.
Okay. Now, I'm super happy to hear all of that. To me, it's all really positive. And it's so new too. We just did it yesterday. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. So.
No, we're getting close to the 24-hour mark, but a couple hours away here.
Yeah, so there's still, more to come for you as far as feeling things differently, and, obviously you're still healing from your hernia. Hopefully that'll get better real quick, and you won't even need, I don't even know if, how long you're supposed to be on medication.
I think that will be a non-issue within the few days.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too, for sure. And you'll just have to let me know how that feels with what Raphael did there, and if that just stays until it's just completely healed. Because that whole thing just is so cool. I think that is just absolutely just the coolest thing. I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you felt and feel a marked improvement there, because I knew that you would, and it was just a matter of how much. But the fact that all of that happened the way that it did was just really neat, and I'm so glad that we could help in your, in the healing and recovery, and make that not hurt so much, because you were pretty sore. I know you were, and especially, and you did laundry that day. You were like, I don't know if I should have done that. I did laundry. I'm like, well, we're gonna make it feel better. So either way, but so you came in even a little extra sore.
Yeah. I
did. You did. But okay, so just to let you know, if any, I'm kind of, I can't think of anything. I think we've been through. Oh, I did want to ask you, when we first got started and we went through the breathing and getting you nice and, positioned and relaxed and stuff, was it easy for you to get in that space to start going there? Because I know this kind of thing is, you're not somebody who meditates every day. Let's just make that clear.
No, I'm not. No, it wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy, if that makes any sense. I had to adjust into it.
Okay, but you're obviously able to do it. It wasn't like...
Yes, I was.
Yeah, there wasn't... I think that... Did it feel like the process of how we went through it was a good pace for you? For what... Like, where we were going was like, you could be there or you weren't there yet? You know what I mean? Like, was it...
No, I didn't think... My thought was I wasn't sure I was going to be able to be there, but I think that I was, so...
Oh, yeah, you most absolutely were. Absolutely.
So, it just took me by surprise. He said, yeah, I am feeling these things. So, I feel like I was able to be part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, you absolutely were. 100%. And I thank you so much for, following your guides and being so open and honest and sharing with me. And that's really, what it takes for people is just to, like you said, you had the desire and the openness, right, for it to happen, and that's really what it takes. It really takes a real desire inside somebody to want to transmute their energy and be a part of it on a really amazing, loving, energetic way with and if you're in line with, yeah, I know I'm taken care of. I know that there's been these things there. I know I'm not, in any way have a super tight relationship with them or have full-on conversations, but at certain times I could feel that, and I know, and, we have our certain moments, and sometimes when we think of these things in these grandiose, like, religious ways, it really kind of tarnishes the pureness of it, and you know what I'm talking about, because
I think so.
If you when you felt Raphael and you felt these things, you didn't feel any kind of gimme back from you, did you? Did you feel anything to come from you to him, or any kind of thing that wasn't just completely pure to give you in that moment, in those moments?
No, absolutely. It was totally giving towards me.
Yeah. And that's the way it always is. And so so please remember that, Shaun. Those feelings that you had with him, with myself, with any of the angels, with that, you can have that type of instant for you sensation and love and help and guidance, and really get that. You don't need me. Okay, I want to make that clear. You don't need me to facilitate that. The fact that you could feel that, and you know it, and you know what you felt there, you can tap into that anytime that you need it. It just takes the intent to do it. You actually have to bring them in, say, I need your help. Will you please come and help me right now? Like with Metatron, when I'm not, like, he's really great to help you focus. So I'm like, okay, or he'll start talking to me. He's like, hello, or, we have this thing back and forth, but it's almost like you just kind of get into the habit of it. As soon as you start to feel that pull, it'll shift you and change you. And those will be the things that you, like, realize, like, oh, this is what in and out love is all about, and it makes the other things that get you in your head to do those twisty spiral things to keep you in that depressed state just like so powerless. It's like ridiculous. And you'll see what I'm talking, and I know that you know what I'm talking about. So just be aware that it's just going to be more of that, and there maybe will be some times that you'll have a little bit of there will be a little bit of a recurrence fight in there, because negative energy tends to be resistant to going away, but you're ultimately in control of that, and we shielded you at the end. We gave you a nice loving shield so you can really have power in that and know that from the inside out and the outside in. So that'll diffuse a lot of any of that trying to come back and mess with you kind of thing, if that makes sense. You know, you're like, we got rid of it, you're staying out, you're not coming back, you're totally shielded and guarded, you're on board with where you're at, there's no room for you back in here, is really the message. And that is also in itself part of the healing too, that you have that inside of you, because I know that you got to that point to even make an appointment with me, to book time with me. You got to that point. So it's just now you can really feel it. It's not just you have the power of so much behind you with that. You always did, but you just didn't feel it as viscerally as you do now. So now it's like, oh, okay, it's me and it's so many others for me in so many ways that you're just gonna, as time goes on, feel that more. So just know that, okay, that's not craziness in your head. It's really real. It's a really real thing that you'll be, experiencing. So just, have fun with it.
Okay.
And again, I thank you so much, Shaun. It was a pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate you letting me record this so other people can get a little bit more of an understanding what it might be like to do this kind of work.
Okay.
And please reach out with anything if you have anything come up or any questions, okay?
I will. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so
It was wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thank you. And